Have you ever found yourself wide awake in the dead of night, the only sound the steady beat of your own heart, reaching for that familiar bottle of sleeping pills, a trusted companion for years, promising a peaceful escape when sleep feels like a distant memory? But what if that tiny pill, the one you've relied on to usher you into dreams, is subtly working against you, jeopardizing your balance, blurring your thoughts, or even putting your life at risk? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? We often hear how crucial sleep is, especially as we age, but the truth about sleeping pills after 70 might truly surprise you. We're about to explore some eye-opening facts that could completely shift your perspective on rest and your well-being. And stick around because we'll share an expert-approved method to achieve restful sleep without relying on pills. 80 euros straight is a simple secret that could transform your nights and safeguard your later years. Before we dive in, if you find this information helpful, consider showing your support so we can continue sharing important insights. Now, let's begin. Sleeping pills can double your risk of falling, and falls can be fatal. Imagine this: it's 3:00 a.m. and the world is hushed. You've been tossing and turning for hours, desperate for sleep. So, you took a sleeping pill an hour ago. Finally, it takes effect. Your eyelids grow heavy, your mind quiets, and sleep envelops you in its hazy embrace. But then, nature calls. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, your feet searching for the floor. As you stand, the room seems to tilt slightly, groggy and disoriented, your body still partially submerged in the drug sedative fog. You shuffle toward the bathroom, one hand trailing along the wall for support, when suddenly your foot catches on something, and the cold, hard floor rushes up to meet you. For most people, this might be a minor stumble, a bruise to treat with an ice pack. However, if you're over 70, this isn't just a stumble. It's a potential catastrophe that could alter your life or even end it. The science supports this alarming scenario. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society clearly states that sleeping pills, particularly benzodiazepines like Valium or clonazepam, and drugs like Ambien, can double your risk of falling. Why does this happen? As we age, our bodies don't process these medications as efficiently as they once did. In a younger person, the drug might metabolize and leave the system relatively quickly, but after 70, it lingers like an unwanted guest, accumulating in your bloodstream and dulling your senses well into the next day. Reflexes slow down, balance wavers, and muscle coordination falters, all while your bones become more fragile and your ability to heal diminishes. It's a perfect storm of vulnerability, and the stakes couldn't be higher. According to the CDC, falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths among adults over 65, claiming tens of thousands of lives annually. That's not just a statistic. It's a grandmother who won't bake cookies with her grandkids again, a grandfather whose stories of the old days are silenced forever. 1 in 5 falls results in a serious injury, a fractured hip, a broken wrist, or a traumatic brain injury. For seniors, the aftermath is devastating. Half of those who fracture a hip never regain their previous mobility, and many enter a cycle of hospital stays, surgeries, and nursing homes. All this from a small pill you took to get a few hours of sleep. The bottle on your nightstand promises rest, but it's gambling with your safety. For older adults, staying upright and independent far outweighs the fleeting relief of drug-induced sleep. Your brain ages faster with every dose. Sleep is the ultimate reset button, or at least it should be. Picture your brain as a busy library, with each night spent organizing the shelves, filing away memories, and dusting off the connections that keep you sharp. But here's the troubling twist: the sleeping pills you rely on to fall asleep might be disrupting that process, aging your brain faster than time alone ever could. Research published in the B&G British Medical Journal delivers a shocking revelation. Long-term use of sleeping pills, especially benzodiazepines like Valium, Xanax, or Ativan, has been linked to significantly high risk of dementia. These aren't weak correlations. The evidence is mounting and paints a bleak picture for anyone over 70 who reaches for the prescription bottle night after night. Here's how it works, or rather, how it falls apart. By the time you reach 70, your brain is already in a delicate phase of transition. Neurons prune themselves, synaptic connections thin out, and processing speed naturally slows down. It's a normal part of aging, but sleeping pills throw a wrench into the works. Benzodiazepines and their relative suppress activity in the central nervous system, which seems ideal for knocking you out. However, over time, that suppression starts to mimic the decline seen in neurodegenerative diseases. Memory becomes foggy, like a window smeared with grease, and thoughts tangle like knotted threads. One landmark study found that seniors who used these medications for more than 3 months faced a significantly higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Let that sink in. You're more likely to lose the stories, faces, and moments that define you, all for a few nights dodged of restlessness. Think about what's at stake. Imagine sitting with your grandkids, their eyes wide as they wait for you to tell a tale from your youth, only to find the words slipping away, the details fading into a frustrating haze. Or picture the quiet satisfaction of solving a crossword puzzle replaced by the confusion of staring at a grid you can't decipher. Trading a sharper mind for a few extra hours of artificial sleep isn't just a bad deal, it's a heartbreaking one. The research isn't saying every dose is a death sentence, but it's a loud warning. The longer you depend on these pills, the more you risk accelerating the clock on your brain's decline. Perhaps it's time to ask yourself, is the cost of that temporary escape worth the permanent toll? To continue getting valuable information, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, let's move forward. Tolerance builds fast and sleep slips away. Imagine this, it's night 1 and you hold the first pill in your hand. A tiny, unassuming beacon of hope, a whispered promise of rest. After days of tossing and turning, you swallow it down with a sip of water, and soon, the world softens around the edges. Your racing mind quiets, and sleep unfolds like a warm, enveloping fog, a fleeting taste of serenity you'd almost forgotten. But fast forward just a week, and that same pill feels like a shadow of its former self. Its potency is dulled, its spell weakened. You double the dose, then triple it, fingers trembling as you shake out the extras, chasing that elusive initial bliss like a moth drawn to a flame that's already flickering out. Sound familiar? This isn't just a personal quirk, it's a biological ambush. After 70, your body's machinery slows to a cautious crawl. Liver enzymes, once spry, now trudge to the task of breaking down drugs, while kidneys, weary from decades of filtration, dawdle in clearing the remnants. Yet, in a cruel twist of irony, your brain races ahead, adapting to these chemical interlopers with speed that defies your age. Experts from the National Institute on Aging warn that tolerance to sleeping pills can take hold in as little as 2 weeks, a relentless countdown that transforms a once effective dose into a hollow gesture. At first, it's subtle. You wake an hour earlier, the edges of your dreams fraying. Then, the nights stretch longer, the pill's embrace grows shallower, and you're left clutching at straws, popping higher doses not for the luxury of sleep, but to stave off the gnawing misery of its absence. The science is stark. Sedative hypnotics, like benzodiazepines or Z-drugs, nudge your brain's GABA receptors into overdrive, dulling neural chatter to induce slumber. But over time, those receptors grow numb, demanding more to achieve less until you're not truly sleeping, just drifting in a sedated haze, a twilight state where rest feels like a distant memory. Miss a dose, and withdrawal crashes in like a tidal wave. Nerves sparking, heart thudding, thoughts spiraling into a frantic woe that leaves you gasping for calm. What began as a lifeline, a soft, pill-shaped savior, morphs into leash, tightening with every night you lean on it. You're no longer reaching for rest, you're running from the chaos of a body that's forgotten how to sleep unaided. The bedroom, once a sanctuary, becomes a battleground, the clock ticking a taunting reminder of hours lost. The heartbreak lies not just in the sleepless nights, but in a slow unraveling of trust in the remedy, in your resilience. Isn't it a devastating twist to realize that what you embraced as a cure could harden into a curse, chaining you to a cycle that pulls you ever further from the natural, a medicated slumber you yearn to reclaim? They can stop working altogether and leave you wired. Now, brace yourself for a plot twist that could keep even the weariest soul awake. Sleeping pills don't just lose their charm, they can turn on you like a double agent. Research from Sleep Medicine Reviews reveals a phenomenon that feels like a betrayal scripted by a sadist who banned insomnia. After weeks, months, or years of faithful use, some seniors, especially those past 70, find themselves not just back at square one, but plunged into sleepless abyss far worse than the restless nights that first drove them to the medicine cabinet. Imagine the scene. You've relied on that little white tablet to ferry you across the river of night, its chemical oars rowing you gently into dreamland. Then, one night, it stops rowing. Your brain, fed up with being lulled into submission, stages a full-scale revolt. It's not content to simply wake you, it electrifies you, turning your nervous system into a live wire snapping in the wind, your mind a buzzing hive of thoughts that refuse to settle. For those over 70, this rebellion strikes at an already fragile foundation. Aging naturally reshapes sleep's architecture. Deep, restorative slow wave sleep dwindles to a whisper, while later stages dominate, punctuated by frequent, disorienting awakenings. You're already navigating a landscape of fractured rest, and then rebound insomnia barrels in like a wrecking ball. Studies pinpoint the culprit: prolonged exposure to sleeping pills, whether zolpidem, lorazepam, or their kin, desensitizes your brain's sedative pathways, leaving them sluggish and overtaxed. In response, your system overcorrects, flooding itself with excitatory signals acircumflex norepinephrine, cortisol, adrenaline acircumflex until you're not just awake, but awake in a way that feels like punishment. Your heart races as if you've sprinted a mile, your skin prickles with restless energy, and your eyes, gritty with exhaustion, refuse to close. You stumble from bed, pacing the dim corridors of your home, the silence mocking your plight as the clock ticks toward dawn. This isn't mere wakefulness, it's a cruel parody of it, a hyperarousal that turns the pill's promise inside out. You swallowed it to find peace, to silence the midnight chatter of an overactive mind, but now that chatter is a roar, and peace feels like a foreign country you've been exiled from. The irony stings like salt in a wound. A sleep aid crafted in labs to cradle you into calm becomes the thief that steals sleep itself, leaving you stranded in a tempest of your own making. Isn't it a bitter, almost poetic injustice that the very tool you trusted to anchor you could instead set you adrift, a sleepless castaway in a storm that never breaks? If you're finding this information insightful, show your appreciation, and for more valuable updates, consider subscribing. Let's move forward. Experts say less is more, once a week if at all. Brace yourself. Here's a revelation that might just surprise you. Leading sleep specialists, including the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, are sounding the alarm. Seniors should limit their use of sleeping pills to once or twice a week at most, and even then, only as a temporary measure for acute disruptions, like jet lag after a transatlantic flight or the intense sleeplessness of fresh grief. Forget the nightly ritual of popping a pill as if it were a harmless vitamin. After 70, that habit becomes a gamble with stakes you might not fully grasp. Why? Your body's machinery, specifically your liver and kidneys, those tireless filters of everything you ingest, starts to slow down with age. What zips through your system at 50 now lingers longer at 75, accumulating in your bloodstream like an unwelcome guest who won't take the hint to leave. The science is clear. A dose that felt like a gentle nudge into sleep in your middle years can transform into something heavier, even toxic, as the decades pile on. Sedatives like zolpidem or benzodiazepines don't just hang around, they accumulate, amplifying side effects you might not connect to that little tablet on your nightstand. Drowsiness that drags into noon, a fuzzy memory that leaves you searching for names or dates, a stumble on the stairs because your balance feels off a circumflex years. These aren't just signs of getting older, they're warning signs. Dr. Michael Brews, a clinical psychologist and sleep expert, doesn't mince words, pills are a band-aid, not a cure. He's not alone. Studies and journals support him, showing that long-term use in older adults increases the risk of falls, fractures, and even cognitive decline, chipping away at the very independence you fought to keep. For chronic insomnia, that relentless beast that keeps you staring at the ceiling night after night, these drugs are less a solution and more a risky crutch, propping you up just enough to limp through, but never truly healing the root cause. The American Geriatric Society has waved a red flag, listing sleeping pills among the medications to avoid and seen as whenever possible, as part of their Choosing Wisely campaign to cut through medical overreach. The kicker. Experts insist you don't need them as much as you think. Imagine cutting back to a single dose a week or ditching them entirely and still finding your way to deep, restful sleep. It's not a pipe dream, it's a possibility grounded in science and supported by stories of real people who've done it. Picture a night when you slide into bed, the cool sheets brushing your skin, and instead of reaching for the pill bottle, you trust your body to take over. Maybe it starts with a rough patch, tossing and turning, counting the cracks in the ceiling as your mind races. But then, slowly, the night shifts. Your head hits the pillow and sleep creeps in, not forced, not drugged, but earned. Specialists point to alternatives that don't come in a prescription bottle. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, a gold standard treatment that rewires your relationship with sleep. Or simple tweaks, like cutting late-day naps and letting sunlight flood your mornings to reset your internal clock. Dr. Bruce himself champions this less is more approach, arguing that the goal isn't just to knock yourself out, it's to rediscover rest that feels natural, sustainable, and safe. After 70, every night of clear-headed sleep is a victory, a reclaiming of your vitality against the slow creep of age. Why risk that for a quick fix that could cost you more than you bargained for? Experts aren't just guessing, they're pleading, scale back, rethink, and let science guide you to something better. This isn't just more here, it's everything. We're getting closer to the end. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Now let's continue. Daytime drowsiness steals your golden years. You survive the night, perhaps thanks to that small, chalky sleeping pill you swallowed with a sip of water, its promise of rest a siren song you couldn't resist. But now it's 10:00 a.m. and you're hunched over your kitchen table, a half-finished cup of coffee growing cold in your hands. Your head dips, your eyelids flutter, and you catch yourself mid-nod, jolted back to a world you're too tired to fully join. Outside, Sunlight pours through the window, painting the room in warm, golden hues. Dappled rays dance across the hardwood floor, and a gentle breeze rustles the leaves just beyond the glass. The neighborhood hums with life. A circumflex heroes birds trill their morning symphony, a neighbor's dog barks in the distance, and somewhere, children laugh as they race down the street. But you're trapped in a sluggish, cotton-thick haze, a prisoner of your exhaustion. Sleeping pills don't just deliver you to dreamland and call it a night. They linger, uninvited guests that overstay their welcome well into the daylight hours. A study in clinical geriatrics revealed that seniors who rely on these medications report a marked increase in daytime fatigue, their energy sapped as if someone turned down the dimmer switch on their vitality. Worse, there's a mental fog. Words slip away mid-sentence, thoughts scatter like leaves in a wind, and confusion settles in like an unwelcome fog. The research even flagged a concerning statistic: those on these meds are more likely to be involved in car accidents. Their reflexes dull just enough to miss a stop sign or fumble the brake pedal in a critical moment. After 70, when every ounce of energy feels like a hard-won treasure, this grogginess isn't just an inconvenience, it's a thief. Think of what it steals: those crisp autumn afternoons you'd spend raking leaves with a grandchild, the giggles filling the air as you toss a handful of crimson and gold into the sky. Or the quiet joy of tending your garden, your fingers brushing against velvety petals as you coax roses or tomatoes into bloom, the earth's rich scent grounding you in the present moment. Picture the clutter of a card game with friends, the table alive with banter, strategy, and the occasional triumphant slap of a winning hand. Even simpler pleasures slip away: the satisfaction of finishing a crossword puzzle, the warmth of a porch rocking chair as you watch the world go by, or the spark of feeling truly awake, truly alive. But when dresses cloaks your days, those moments blur into a half-remembered dream, their edges softened until they're lost entirely. Why let it happen? After 7 decades of living, of triumphs, heartaches, and everything in between, you've earned the right to savor what's left. Your golden years aren't meant to be spent in a stupor, watching life through a blurry lens. Therefore, seizing the small, radiant joys they circumflex yours, a shared laugh, a sunlit walk, a memory made. Don't let a pill dim the brilliance of that light. It's not just taking your time, it's taking your life. Your body wants to sleep naturally if you let it. Here's a truth so uplifting it might just stir your soul: your body hasn't forgotten how to sleep. Even now, after 70 years of carrying you through the world, through late night worries, early morning triumphs, and everything in between, it's still wired for rest. The National Sleep Foundation clearly states that aging doesn't erase sleep, it reshapes it. The deep, unbroken slumber of your youth might give way to something lighter, more fragile, a tapestry of shorter cycles punctuated by wakeful moments when the house creaks or the moon glows too brightly through the curtains. You might find yourself rising with the dawn, restless, or napping in the afternoon to stitch together what the night couldn't quite finish. It's fragmented, yes, but it's still there, a quiet gift your body hasn't surrendered. Sleeping pills, though, they don't nurture that natural rhythm, they steamroll it. They plunge you into a heavy, artificial blackout, bypassing the delicate dance of brain waves and hormones that guide true rest. It's a shortcut, not a solution, and it comes with a cost: dependency, grogginess, and a sense that sleep is something you take rather than something you find. But here's the breathtaking part: step away from that crutch, and your body can recalibrate. It's not too late. Your brain, that marvel of resilience, still remembers the way back to its quiet cadence, like a river rediscovering its course after a dam crumbles. The National Institute on Aging supports this. With time and intention, seniors can reclaim sleep that feels organic, restorative, and wholly their own. How do you begin? Experts called it a sleep hygiene reset, a term that sounds clinical but unfolds like a gentle art. 2 hours before bed, dim the lights. Swap harsh overhead bulbs for the soft flicker of a lamp or the warm glow of a candle, echoing the sunsets our ancestors once swam down beneath. It's a signal to your brain: night is coming, ease into it. Banish caffeine after noon. That second cup of coffee or sneaky square of dark chocolate might buzz through your system longer now, its half-life stretching into the evening because your metabolism isn't the sprinter it once was. Anchor yourself with a consistent bedtime, even if it feels like a chore at first. Your internal clock, the circadian rhythm that's ticked since birth, craves that predictability. Then, layer in rituals that soothe. A warm bath, not every night, but as a treat when tension clings too tightly, lets the heat melt knots from your shoulders, the steam coaxing your mind to unwind. Or pick up a book, not a thriller that keeps you guessing, but something gentle, like poetry or a familiar novel, as pages a lullaby of rustling paper. If stillness eludes you, try a few minutes of deep breathing. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 6, feeling your chest rise and fall like waves on a calm shore. Add a walk in the late afternoon sun if you can, 15 minutes around the block, the light soaking into your retinas to nudge that circadian rhythm back into line. It's not instant. The first few nights might feel like a wrestle, tossing and turning, staring at the ceiling as your body adjusts. But stick with it. Within weeks, seniors who have walked this path report sleep that deepens, dreams that flicker back to life, and mornings that greet them without the dread days. Imagine it, lying in bed, the weight of the day slipping off your shoulders, your breath slowing as you drift, not dragged into rest. No pills, no haze, just you and the quiet miracle of your biology. Isn't that a stunning thought? That even now, after all these years, your body holds the key to sleep, patiently waiting for you to turn it. Aging might bend the rules, but it doesn't break them. Your rest is still yours to rediscover, a triumph as natural as the sunrise. Well, there you have it, the surprising, sometimes shocking truth about how often seniors should take sleeping pills after 70. We've explored the hidden dangers and the path to natural sleep. If you found this valuable, consider sharing it with others.